Oh yeah, bakenswitch. We started off really from an awkward place. We were working on another project for other reasons. We had to, put that project on hold, and we ended up moving on to our own downtime tasks. So there was a lot of training that people were doing. There was a lot of people starting up their own projects. It was basically free reign for you to look into what you wanted to make in as a game within the time frame that we had. So that's what spawned Jason, Han, Alvin, and Roger to come together and just make a ridiculous brawler game which involved baguettes, slimes, and made its way into its current state, which is doughs with attitude and master bakers.
No, I think initially it's not anything close to this. Like at the beginning, it's just slime holding baguettes. Beating the shit out of everything. And then eventually it turns into dough for some reason.
The core team started working on the project, and they started going through and iterating through a hell of a lot of ideas. They were testing different ideas. Like Jason said, they were going through mechanics and figuring out what worked and what didn't. And then as we sort of moved to full production, more design came on, art came on, more devs came on board, and we started locking down. Like at that point, everybody was sitting down with them, going, okay, you guys got game. At that point, after they'd experimented for 6 months, 9 months, about there, when everybody came in, everybody was like, okay, you guys have a game. Now, what is it? And what were the fundamentals of it? And what was it that worked, and what is it that didn't? And then that sort of became driving principles of all the things that were designed around that core concept. I think they drove it to the point where everybody in the studio could see that there's a game there, people could play it, and it was fun. And then after that, from there, we sort of deconstructed it and figured out, okay, this is the elements that make the game work, and these are the things that we will push forward on. And I think the principles aren't that, they're not highbrow concepts or anything. I mean, it was just simple fundamentals like passing is good, and things like that. And we're trying to the objective of trying to get the cooperation to work via the mechanics of the game was sort of the fundamentals that we were trying to amplify. But at the end of the day, that was sort of the iteration over months until they got to a point. I mean, there's a lot of play testing, a lot of iteration. At that point, I think discussions with the core team was every single idea anybody came up with, they've already tried, tested it, and then they have reasonings of why it worked and why it didn't work. And then from there, we could have a huge amount of information where we can derive sort of the principles of what worked.
The team is crazy, but we managed to basically work together by setting regular meetings and discussions, communicating with each other, and also setting up milestones so then we can kind of get to reach the goal that we wish to. Of course, there's a lot of debates and arguments or discussions, but in the end, find what suits what we're looking for.
So at the very beginning phase, I mean, everyone have his own love, what kind of thing they like in the game. When we working on this project, at the very beginning phase, when we deciding to add in something else, some function or anything that we want to try out, we actually always have a voting inside our team, Alvin and Roger with me. We actually decide is this actually works? If there was an argue on we shouldn't add this and someone actually want this, so we'll actually do a vote on this, how many vote is we should do this and how many vote we shouldn't do this. So the more vote, of course, we go that route. So normally what we do, we'll actually have a vote first to do something, to implement the game. That's how normally we do it at the very beginning phase.
I mean, I guess to build up on that, it's more of the team kind of always being on the same or having a same interest in where the game should go or would go. So starting with the voting process that, Jason, Han, Alvin, Roger kind of had from the beginning, moving on to, I guess, now just with design discussions involving everyone and not just the designers. So it's kind of carrying the same thing forward.
So at begin, as what we say, we're not really actually working on a couch co-op party game for bakenswitch. We're actually working on like a single player hack and slash that a slime holding a baguette or some bun to actually killing some slime. So that's how the whole idea starts. So what happened is in between, like when we show this game to like other people is like very happy with like the bun they're holding, like all the baking stuff they're holding. So we like decide to go through that road, like adding more and more stuff like baking stuff. So how we actually come up like all the idea is most of the time we're actually taking how real life baking stuff, like how the process of baking, like the punching we have, the grabbing we have right now, or it's like from how the real life, like you're kneading a dough and you're like punching and making a dough to be like fresh, and then like how you want to, the whole process of a baking. That's how we like actually working on that.
Jason's girlfriend kept baking a lot of stuff, and he brought it to the office to invite everyone. That's kind of inspired us to like, why not we just do more bakery stuff? That's more of a visual idea, but for gameplay wise, I think we all love a party game, so we kind of sit down and discuss and tested a lot of the co-op element of the game. Yeah, I guess it's just a bunch of us throwing in ideas about party games, and that's how the game came about.
The thing is, we started out with slimes, but we wanted to avoid being too similar to all the other games that were coming out at that time, which were also slimes. Also, Slime Rancher was free on Epic at the same time, so slimes were definitely in fashion, so to speak.
The guys already arrived that the creatures are made out of the dough. For whatever reason, I don't think there was any particular reason other than the inspiration of bread. And then I basically did like 21 questions kind of thing, couple of times, just asking people, are they sentient? Are they, what are they? What are the bosses, and who are the humans? And just ask just general questions about what these things are. Then after that, I was doing some research, and I went down a really long rabbit hole that ended up in the flower wars of the Aztec Empire. I'm not sure how I ended up there, but I ended up there. And then started taking inspiration from a lot of South American kind of ancient civilizations. And then from there, built up this idea. The idea of guardians and sacrifice, because that's quite predominant in South American ancient civilizations. And just turning it on its head and making it like, the doors are what's being sacrificed to the guardians, and they're trying to appease the guardians in order to win their favor so that they can fight back the moldies and that kind of thing. So it was just taking all the ideas that were there and sort of just making them a bit more concrete, as in trying to maintain an internal logic within the world, so that that the doors don't suddenly become something else, or the humans don't keep shifting forms and things like that. So, and then just weaving on whatever story I could come up with that. And then I think the artist took it away and went crazy with it. And so that's how we ended up with the story that we have.